How can you perceive and use past mistakes to your benefit? You have past mistakes to illustrate to you what to value and what not to value. Yet sometimes this can be difficult to determine. At least you learn what not to do again, and this eliminates some of your former criteria for a relationship. That is always helpful. Progress here is based more on unlearning rather than learning, giving things up rather than taking things on. Refinement is the process of taking away that which does not belong. It is bringing things down to their essential qualities, their essential aspects, and their essential function. It is very important then that you use your past experience to serve you now. To do this effectively, you must not deny the cost of your errors. Do not say that everything that happened was for your good, when in fact it generated considerable confusion and misery for you. Accept the fact that it generated considerable confusion and misery, and be determined to derive some value from it, so that you will not have to repeat that error again. If you do not realize the cost of a past error, you will not be well prepared, and you will not take seriously the possibility of making the same mistake in the future. Errors are costly. Errors in relationship are as costly as errors in your business endeavors. Learn what is necessary from your errors, so that they can serve you. Part of their service to you is that you suffered for them. This can provide the conviction necessary for you to use your errors wisely. Pain motivates people, but truth is a greater motivator. To value the truth, you must see that you cannot live without it. Here pain can serve you, but only to teach you to value the truth. You have already made painful mistakes. To avoid having to repeat them, you must gain as much value from them as possible. Therefore, it is wise for you to review your relationship involvements. Take each person that you have met, with whom you became seriously engaged, and see why you became involved, what attracted you, what happened in your relationship, who got blamed for the errors, how the relationship came to an end, if it has ended, what you thought you learned at that time, and what you think you have learned now. This is a very good exercise, and you can do this on your own. Though it may call up some painful memories for you, it will give you an overview of your participation in relationships. It is necessary for you to realize how you function in relationships. In relationships, people are always concentrating on what the other person does. But you must learn what you do, where you make your mistakes, where you are courageous, what your predispositions are, how you respond to difficulty, how you respond to loss, how you respond to success, and how you respond to failure. Without becoming self-absorbed, you can gain valuable information here, because you must learn something about your own tendencies in order to learn how to work with yourself. The other person in the relationship is going to have to work with you. Who are they working with? What are they working with? What do they have to deal with in you? You need to know that. You do not have to dissect yourself to find this out. It simply becomes obvious in reviewing your experiences objectively. Many people think they are fine and everybody else is in error. Some people think that they are in error and everyone else is fine. Either position is untenable and does not support you in being clear about what you need to know and do. Remember, you have a nature and you have a design. You are a piece of a puzzle. You want to make the best use of that. You cannot be a different piece and make yourself fit where you do not fit. You must learn to work with your design. You must learn how you function in relationships. Your past experience can teach you this. If you are prone to certain kinds of involvements with others that betray your certainty in knowledge, you must become aware of this and be prepared for it in the future. If a certain kind of person or a certain kind of behavior in a person attracts you so greatly that you cannot think clearly, you need to be aware of that. Be on guard. Do not deny that this exists. Be aware. If you are aware, you will be able to experience what you know and what you need to do. Take inventory of your mistakes. Take inventory of those things that attract you and those things that betray your knowledge. Take inventory of those qualities in other people and those illusions you hold about people that tend to lead you astray. Do not deny the pain of past mistakes. Allow that pain to persuade you that you need to learn certain things that are true in order to grow and to mature. This can be done completely without bitterness and without self-degradation. If something did not work in a previous relationship, find out why it did not work and look again to see how you could have acted more wisely. Often with past mistakes, people make conclusions for the future that are not based on real experience at all. These conclusions are simply a way to avoid pain. You can assess your past errors and learn from them, but again, you must look with an open mind. You learn in the present. Whatever you derive from the past that has possible benefit must be tested in the present. You can be scientific here. You can test things out. Your ability to develop discernment in relationships is essential in your marriage, your family, and your work in the world, because everything you do in the world, you do through relationships. Assess your past and become observant in the present. Be patient and attempt to follow what you feel and what you deeply know. Honor your experience, but do not make premature conclusions. Only become sexually engaged with someone you know to be your true partner. Then sexuality will not betray your integrity. Learn about the other person before you commit yourself financially, and money will not betray your integrity. Be willing to give up someone you just met and towards whom you feel great attraction. This willingness guards you against failure and prepares you for success. There is always an open door for you in any situation. The past will be a benefit to you if you can use it now. Otherwise, an error is an error, a loss is a loss, and wasted time is wasted time. You do not know if you have learned from an error in the past unless you can apply your learning wisely in the present. If you do not make a wise decision now, your errors in the past have not served you sufficiently, and you have not learned from them sufficiently. Even terrible experiences in the past can serve you greatly if you can learn from them. Often you will need someone else to help you do this, someone whose knowledge and experience you value. It is unfortunate that young people do not rely on older people here, for many older people have established a great deal of practical wisdom. It is unfortunate that young people tend to only listen to other young people, and that other older people only listen to older people. Older people need to give, and young people need to receive. You need to be around someone who has more experience than you, who not only has made many errors, but has learned from them adequately, and it is in a position to give with a desire to serve. This is very important. The lessons in relationship do not change. Just because you have computers and drive around in fast vehicles does not mean that the lessons of relationship have changed at all. What was true in your parents' youth is true now. You may have many more opportunities to make errors than they did. That is all. People have lost sight on the repercussions of sexual engagement. For many people, it is too easy now. Yet, that does not mean that the cost is not there. It just means that the cost is not recognized. Many individuals have been ruined by becoming sexually involved with the wrong person, because doing this is consequential. People have lost sight of this. Instead of advocating austerity, this awareness advocates simplicity, truth, and love. Yet simplicity, truth, and love are remote for you if all you seek are personal gratification and satisfaction. Life will give you what you need if you are available to receive it, and if you recognize its value. You do not need to go out and rape life and take from life everything you can get your hands on. Life will yield itself to you, who are worthy of life. Your past is a great asset, but it is not easy to learn from the past objectively. The challenge of applying the truth in the face of other expediencies remains for you in the present. Here you are always faced with instant gratification versus long-range satisfaction, and in this you must exercise wisdom, courage, and patience. Instant gratification leads to long-term loss. You only need to be married once in life to the right person. Why experiment? It is better to be alone. There is time to be alone. There is a time to take stock of yourself. Yet if you cannot do this, you have a serious problem in relationship with yourself. A problem which a relationship with another cannot solve. It is not possible here to address every single problem that occurs within relationships, but it is necessary to draw very important distinctions. If you are without knowledge, you are prone to all forms of error. The more you are with knowledge, the more you become safe from error. That is why knowledge is your salvation. That is why knowledge is the source of your redemption, your empowerment, and your contribution. That is why knowledge is the basis for all meaningful relationships with others. You have the opportunity to learn the way of knowledge, which you can do at this moment. Regardless of whether you are in a relationship or not, regardless of where you are in the world, and regardless of what you are doing, becoming a student of knowledge is available to you now. If you have learned from your past adequately, you will see how necessary knowledge is for you now. The only thing that error can really teach you is to value knowledge. Error occurred because you denied, ignored, or were not aware of your knowledge. Whatever has happened to you in the past, whatever difficulty you have undergone, whatever loss you have endured, and whatever challenge you have failed, will bring you to knowledge, if perceived correctly. Here the value of knowledge will have an opportunity to demonstrate itself to you. For failure shows the need for success, and success is its own validation. How many relationships do you need? You will need to build a supportive network of people. One relationship will not be enough. You will need more people to help you. As you advance into the higher stages of development, you will need to establish a firm core of supportive individuals. This is essential. You will be amazed at how much you can receive from this core of people and how everyone will benefit as a result of your receiving and giving the gifts of knowledge. Then you will become strong enough to serve those who are weaker than you, those who are often more committed to their weakness than to their own strength. Here, it is necessary to talk about the development of individual power. Power in the world is proportional to the concentration of a person's mind in action. Here the person who is committed to his or her weakness, sense of littleness or addiction can be far stronger than someone who has a weak or partial commitment to the truth, and therefore will have a greater influence over them. This is because power is proportional to the concentration of mind in action. Those who are beginning to become strong need strong individuals to help them because they are not yet strong enough to combat the commitment to weakness which they will encounter in the world. That is why a person in relationship with you who does not share your commitment to becoming strong can seriously weaken you and even destroy your possibility of success, even if they have good intentions. There is no moral prerogative here. This is simply a fact. This requires that you become strong in knowledge, for the stronger you become, the greater your influence. The greater your influence, the greater the good that can come through you for the world. The stronger you are in knowledge, the less you will be weakened by those who share a different commitment or who oppose you in any way. This is wisdom. You can laugh a weak person at a distance, but if you allow yourself to become intimately engaged with them, they can seriously undermine you. To prevent this, your commitment to the truth must be strong. For you to develop this commitment, you will need a supportive network of people. This will happen naturally. However, you must learn to be discerning because many people will be attracted to you. The weak are often attracted to the strong, not with the intention of supporting them, but with the intention of using their power. How many rulers of countries have been usurpated by a weak or cunning advisor? The poor and strong are always followed by the weak and the cunning. This is a fact of life and will always occur. That is why the strong must become discerning and wise concerning their interaction with others. That is why the strong must surround themselves with the strong, with whom they can become united. A small group of committed individuals has great power in the world and can accomplish things of great benefit and substance. In fact, all things of great benefit and substance were started by small groups of committed individuals who were an overall asset to one another's development. Likewise, those individuals who have not been able to produce anything of value and benefit for the world were also surrounded by individuals who shared their weakness and reinforced it. This is why it is such a great challenge for the weak to enter into a life of strength and certainty in purpose. In most cases, they must relinquish their former relationships and influences. Sometimes this severance needs to be complete, for they need to be in a positive learning environment with relationships that nurture them and support their incentive for the truth. In this way, the strong can become stronger, and the weak can become served, so that they too can become stronger. Anyone who is strong was nurtured by someone who was strong. Anyone who was once weak and then became strong was raised up by the strength of those who served them. Part of God's plan is to renew the strength of all who have been separated and who continue to live in the isolation of their own imagination. This is done through meaningful relationships and through the discovery and reclamation of knowledge within each person. Very few individuals are strong with knowledge in the world. That is why your inner teachers are here. They abide with you. Here you have a relationship that is strong enough to nurture your emerging commitment to the truth and your beginning experience of knowledge. However, many of the relationships that you have around you will not support this and will encourage your efforts in another direction. There are people in the world who are actually committed to evil, but most people are simply influenced by it and do not know any better. The man or woman of knowledge must then become aware of the presence and power of evil and guard against this within their own lives. As a result, they may appear to be aloof and unloving, even unapproachable. This is merely an appearance, however, for they are preserving their life force, attempting to unite with those who can enhance it for the purpose of contribution. That is why advancing students of knowledge must undergo a preparation that the average person would not consider and perhaps would not even see the value of undertaking. The student must become substantial and strong with knowledge, while learning to be objective and discerning with the world. This is particularly important in the area of relationships, where the most serious mistakes are made. How should you view romance? The greatest addiction in the world is the addiction to personal romance. This is the strongest and most engaging addiction because it is the closest to the truth, because it deals with relationships and aims at some form of personal surrender to the beloved. It mimics the truth much more closely than other forms of addiction. This makes it more alluring and more difficult to recognize, for it masquerades as true relationship, and yet it produces an entirely different result. Commitment to personal romance is the commitment to stay in fantasy about another and to use the other person to support your fantasy about yourself. If either of you in this relationship awakened, it would threaten their relationship itself. That is why in relationships of this nature, it will be rare that either you or the other person will have any idea that you are living in fantasy. Nor will you be motivated to question your relationship objectively, unless it is failing your expectations. The attachment to these bonds can be feverish. Yet only disappointment can show you that another possibility is offered. The commitment to personal romance is not a commitment to a relationship. In fact, it is a commitment to stay out of relationship. It is a commitment to maintain your idea of another person and to have them fulfill this idea. How can this be called a relationship? A real relationship is where you relate to another person and experience another person's reality. In romance, you relate to your ideas about the other person. You actually are not even in relationship with the other person. They are merely being used as a way to stimulate your imagination. Usually, only their physical appearance or some aspect of their personality can do this. Here you become mesmerized by the other person and you try and make sure that the other person is mesmerized by you as well. Here there is no commitment to recognize the other as a real person. What you do not like in that person, you will attempt to overlook, lessen, or negate. And what you love, you will attempt to inflate and magnify. Relationships like this are very difficult to maintain. They require constant stimulation and constant excitement. They are the things that movies are made of. Yet such relationships have great difficulty surviving in the world, because they cannot meet the real demands of life, and very little can be contributed through them. Their participants will cling to each other with great devotion and will be terribly angry and disappointed when the relationship fails, which it ultimately will. So deep can be their resentment and disappointment that it can breed severe hatred towards others, and even hatred towards life itself. But what is this hatred but failed idealism? It is hostility against the failure of an imagined dream. Real relationships are established, maintained, and matured through real activities in the world. Here the relationship is more a means than an end in and of itself. Here participation, contribution, and accomplishment are the essence of your being together. Intimacy naturally arises here because it is naturally stimulated. It is a result of fulfilling your mission together in life, and not a result of projecting fanciful ideas upon one another. To escape the addiction of romance, one must be with real people with real goals. This creates a contrast between what is imagined and what is real. Here, what is imagined is seen as weak and pathetic, offering no hope of success, but only continued frustration, confusion, and disappointment. Within a genuine relationship, there is natural enjoyment because being together is nurturing, challenging, and satisfying. To be with this person, you do not need to pretend to be something other than what you are, and they do not need to pretend to be anything other than what they are to be with you. You do not need to perform for one another. The more free you are with one another, the greater the experience of love. This is the environment for true union. No union is possible in a relationship that is based upon romance alone. The happiness and pleasures of such a relationship are momentary and fleeting and are constantly being eroded by the challenges of life. Time will destroy the incentive for romance because your partner will lose his or her allure, and disappointment will begin to cast its shadow upon you. So much romance, so little relationship, so much hope and expectation, so much disappointment. In romance, life is nothing but a rude awakening, something to be avoided and something to be delayed. Here you attempt ever more feverishly to keep the stimulation alive, to keep the fun and the excitement going, for there is no other basis for being together. Each person is always secretly afraid that they will be rejected, that their partner will lose interest in them, and that someone more exciting, more alluring, and more unusual will come along. It is understandable to see relationships of this kind in adolescence, but it is tragic to see them in adulthood, for here their effect is truly destructive. Even in adolescence, there is a great deal of pain and suffering that result from these engagements, For people are chosen for what they appear to be, not for who they are. The greatest threat to romance is genuine communication, genuine openness, and genuine intimacy. For here you find out who the other person is. Usually, this is what dispels fantasy. It is possible on rare occasions that a romance may become a real relationship, but this is often the exception. Romance is truly wasteful. It ignores and wastes all the true offerings of a genuine relationship. It engenders an enormous expense of personal energy, time, financial resources, and so forth. How much must you spend upon yourself to be attractive, to be alluring, and to be exciting? How isolating this is for you. Even if others are seduced into wanting your image of yourself, they will not know you and in many cases will not want to know you. Often the beautiful, exciting people are very isolated and alone. They have gained all their power and influence from their appearance and are poor as a result. How tragic it is to be so engaged with others and yet so unknown. To be so idolized and yet so unrecognized. How deceiving this is. Be prepared then to recognize the difference between romance and relationship. And remember, in true relationship there is a natural enjoyment, which is in itself very romantic, but which poses no alternative to genuine relationship. For genuine relationship is both work and play, challenge and relaxation, in proper order and alignment. It is based upon real people in real situations doing real things. It is not an attempt to escape from life. If you are seeking to participate in a meaningful relationship, this requires a certain objectivity on your part. You will feel the power of allurement, a wonderful gesture, a beautiful face, a person's wealth, or a pleasurable aspect of their personality. You may imagine who they might be and what they might give you, and so forth. However, knowledge within you will never be persuaded by such a weak and momentary stimulation. If you abide with knowledge, you will not be fooled and will have an opportunity to see the real person behind the facade. This is done without condemnation, for there is no condemnation in knowledge. You will find that those who seem so exotic and beautiful, those who always seem to have partners in life, are in most cases extremely isolated and lonely, unknown by others, unknown to themselves, and identified with that which is temporary and fading. This will give you a whole different perspective on success and failure in relationships. Those who seem to win will lose with time, and those who seemed unloved at first can show the best promise of finding lasting relationships. There is no revenge here. It is simply the result of investing in that which is genuine, lasting, and purposeful, as opposed to investing in that which is momentary and stimulating. Do not be discouraged by what you see around you. You will see romance creating and destroying itself. not think that this is relationship. Yet even in romance, people are trying to reach each other. They just do not know how. They are trying to win each other's approval based upon appearances, which in reality provide very little. The greatest gifts you have to give in a relationship are knowledge and wisdom. Then whoever associates with you will benefit. If you choose wisely, you will benefit as well. Here knowledge and wisdom only increase with time, and their expression grows with each new circumstance. Thus, the rich become richer in knowledge. The poor become poorer unless they turn to knowledge. For what is the alternative to knowledge but fantasy? And how can fantasy exist in a world that does not support it? These distinctions must be made. As they are made, you will feel increasingly confident that genuine relationship exists for you and is necessary for the world. You will feel increasingly free of those seductions which have only hurt you and all who are seduced by them. Here you will see that your body, your sexuality, and your self-expression have an entirely different emphasis and value. Then your need for self-development will become evident and you will value your past errors for what they can show you. You will value your current circumstances for the opportunity they give you to establish what you have learned. You are already in relationship with people, so everything that is being presented here is relevant to you now. You do not need to wait for a relationship to come along, for you are already in relationship with people and can learn from them. If you are not yet married, you are preparing for true marriage. If you are not yet in a primary relationship, you are preparing for a primary relationship, and your preparation is essential for your success. Many people ask, what is real love? Real love may ignite a relationship, but in truth, it will be the result of a relationship. A real relationship will produce real love. An unreal relationship will not. Many people have experienced disillusionment with love to some degree. Many people have tasted the unreal, have seen the fire of romance burn and then die out, and have seen the fever of attraction turn cold. Many people have had the experience of being severely disappointed by finding out that their relationship was not at all what they expected it to be. Some people have been seriously injured by this and have been, to a certain degree, crippled by it. Yet the path to knowledge begins with disappointment. It begins by saying, there must be something else. There must be something greater. There must be something more genuine. Humanity is held together and advanced by its meaningful relationships. The health of the entire human race at any given moment can be assessed in terms of the existence of these relationships. That is why they are so important. They are important not only for those involved, but for humanity at large. From a wholesome, loving family to the work of people united in supporting the world's evolution and development, meaningful relationships are the very essence of humanity's success. Many alliances that masquerade as relationships are not real relationships. A real relationship must be tested in time. It must have a real beginning and a meaningful existence, and through this it will demonstrate its depth and its ability. The more real your life is and the more aligned it is with what you know and how you experience yourself, the better opportunity you will have to experience genuine relationships with others. Then you will not be deceiving others and you will not be deceived in return. Then you will feel safe and you will feel loved. Without safety, there is no trust. Without trust, there is no love. This is why excitement alone is ultimately so terribly disappointing. It has no foundation. There is nothing there to trust. It offers no reprieve from performance, and so it is very tiring. It breeds resentment because you must be something other than yourself to be in the relationship. It ends in disappointment because someone will be rejected. What is a real relationship? A relationship motivated by knowledge will be real, but its reality must be established over time. It must mature. When you enter the church and you make your wedding vows, it is only the beginning of building a real marriage. The relationship has not been fully established yet. This takes time. In retrospect, you will know if it is real. Yet at the outset, what is unreal can be seen and must be seen. A relationship is a vehicle to carry you forward in life. It is real if it can do this. Here you must have a real beginning. You have a real beginning when you have the right criteria, adequate compatibility, and shared spiritual values. It is important to have the right beginning. Whether or not your relationship will remain real depends upon your participation together. Your relationship will need your support, but it cannot survive if it does not have the necessary components. These must be discovered, especially at the outset. That is why, in establishing a relationship, it is usually wise to move forward slowly. How will you know if a relationship will last? Well, you may not be able to. You will only know if a relationship can begin. Here you begin the relationship realizing that it may have great promise to last, but it has not yet gone through the process of life. If your relationship is based upon romance, you can be sure it will fail you, and you can see this because it is inevitable. However, given the possibility for true engagement, you can only have a real beginning and the prospect of a real continuation. Yet that will be enough to set you on the path.